Hi, this is From Girl to Girl, Ask Bree Anything, and this is our very first podcast on Twitter. I'm very excited about it and thrilled that you could join us for the first one. Tonight we're going to be talking about different kind of things, but since we're going into a new year, I thought it was a good idea to talk about or discuss how to tell if someone, male or female, wants to date you or just wants to hook up. And I think this is a great opportunity to talk about this because, of course, the new year is just days away. You're getting ready for parties, meet and greet different people for New Year's Eve. Usually people do stuff with their friends, but sometimes on occasion you'll meet somebody that you haven't met before, and you might get acquainted with them in 2017. So, in a recent catch that we had on our site From Girl to Girl is, do men like when women make the first move, which is an interesting topic in itself. Like, have you ever been in a situation where you liked someone but wanted that person to make the first move because you're shy or you're uncertain? And how has that impact or benefited you or to put you at a disadvantage? So our friends at Cupid.com, they recently did a survey on this very question. It was about, what do men really think about women who make the first move? And men are usually considered to be those that should take the first step in dating. This is the traditional side or point of view that women should wait for men to make the first move. Or at least when I was growing up, it was told to me and other women that a man should make the first move if he's serious about you and wants to take those initial steps to get to know you. And I've always thought that was the right way to go, especially since when I was growing up, my father said that's what a man is supposed to do. He's supposed to lead, and he's supposed to really be the gentleman and go after what he wants and all that stuff that you want or you're told that leads to marriage. But the point is that we're living in a new live world where women want to take the lead in things, even professionally and relationship-wise and sexually sometimes. And I think that's interesting how those changes are happening, but I don't necessarily believe that women are intentionally trying to take that lead role from men. But according to the study, men actually may like that women take or make the first move. And I was curious about this survey because how many men would be happy for a woman to do so instead of them? And moreover, is it worth it if the man does not consider a woman as his significant other? So Cupid.com, they polled 891 single men to find out what they think about the first moves from women. And it's really interesting. You should definitely check out the article on FromGirltogirl.com. It's very interesting. But I'll just let you get a brief input into what the survey revealed, and also some tips and tricks on how you can know whether that date you meet has that New Year's Eve party or anything will be interested in dating you or just simply hooking up. So, for one question that was on the survey is, would you like a woman to initiate a relationship with you and make the first move? Well, interestingly enough, 90% of the men surveyed said yes, and only 10% said no to women making the first move to, I guess, spark interest or get to know a man better or make it clear to him that you would like to take him on a date or just get more familiar with him. The second question was, have you ever been in a situation where you liked a woman but wanted her to make the first move? And that was a very interesting one as well. because maybe a man has been thinking about calling a woman or getting her number. In today's dating world, a man would rather a woman ask for his number, with 74% of men willing or be interested in a woman doing so, and only 26% said no. A third question was, would you give a chance to a relationship if a woman shows interest in you, but didn't consider her seriously before? And this might be something that a lot of modern women would be happy about. 87% of men beloved if a woman give a chance to a relationship and showed interest, he would definitely try to give her a go and see where it leads. And that really surprised me, especially if a woman's like, let's go to the movies tonight, and asks the guy if he would like to go. There's a good chance he would say, why not, just to see how the dating atmosphere goes with that woman. And I've heard that before from men. Some say that they are more open than women to just date just to have a fun night out or enjoy a different woman's company versus a woman who might take additional steps or thoughts into considering a date from a man, and that might be based on her hoping that she's not wasting her time or being interested or open to the idea that this guy might have potential to be more than just a date. So I just thought that that's an interesting discovery from this Cupid.com survey, and it really gives a look into what people are thinking and contemplating about dating in the world as we know it right now. So going based off of that, I think that there should be some consideration or a good listen to what immature dating habits you may want to consider growing out of for the new year. Like, for one, text message date invites, you might want to kick that out of the door. I know a lot of people enjoy texting because it's easy, it's convenient. You don't have to directly say no or yes to anyone. And it's made our generation a little bit lazy on the communication side. And for relationships and dating, communication is very important, especially I noticed in text messages, communication can get lost in translation, and it could lead to more arguments based on misunderstandings through text. So I definitely recommend, if you are trying to make plans for a date, to do the old school way of giving a call or doing face-to-face. I prefer face-to-face. I think that's more flattering and clearly tells that you're interested in the person that you would like to go on a date and take a chance with. And I think that's awesome. And in fact, I think those are the most memorable kind of pop the question on dating. And I recommend that people do that face-to-face more often. I mean, who wants to be, if your relationship goes beyond like that year or 6 months, who wants to be in that atmosphere where they are recalling how they met and somebody's just like, oh, I got a date invitation on a text. It seems like someone can put a little bit more effort into going out with someone and making them feel like they are valued in their time and effort into that date. It is something that is being paid attention to and appreciated. So if you can do less faceless communication in 2017, I highly recommend it. It's easier because the other person can see how you're feeling, and they can more wittingly know how to respond to you versus courting via text and electronics. I just never got into that, and I don't prefer it. So it kind of reminds me of that equivalent of a fifth grader passing a note that says, "Do you like me?" It's like you don't really want somebody to do that. You kind of want to be courted when you ask somebody on that date. Okay, another bad habit that you might consider getting rid of in 2017 is to not be so secretive and guarded. Um, I don't think in the early stages of dating that somebody needs to go through your phone, emails, and all password protected stuff. That's not something I think you should be sharing with someone new. Maybe in a year or two relationship, you may want to consider that, but you don't have to give every little detail about your life to somebody you just met within the months of dating them. So just think about that. You don't need if you feel like you're dating a ninja, just like you might want to exit it out earlier than playing those trust issues, because really with relationships, trust and communication are the two most important things you want. You want good communication, and you want to be able and willing to trust who you're dating. Third thing that you may want to consider removing yourself from is planning how long you're going to take before initiating contact with someone. Like some people, they like to, especially after argument, they like to wait 2 or 3 days before calling somebody to discuss the argument or overcome the issue that the argument was about. And to an extent, there's an expiration date on when and how long you should make a argument go long. I'm a firm believer that prolonged arguments are never healthy for any kind of relationship, friendship, dating, marriages. I don't think any of that should be something that you try a stale tactic and pass when people stop making phone calls. And I notice a lot of men do it passively, aggressively. They use silent treatment to elongate an argument that's very simple to overcome, but they want the woman to be frightened or put some fear in her that she could lose them, which I think is unhealthy relationship habits regardless of gender. But you may want to step away from that, especially if you're practicing that. You might want to look further into yourself as to why you feel like you need to do those stale tactics to get your point across. Or start being nonchalant about anything. It really takes a toll on a relationship, especially if you feel like you were in the wrong for an action that happened or led to the argument. It's best to clear it up in the first 24 hours or so. Sleep on it and then go. Go and get that across to your partner that you're willing to work it out and willing to not make that mistake again and again. Another definitely thing that you don't want to do in the new year is purposely try to make the person you're dating jealous. That's like the worst thing you can do, because once again, it goes back to, can your partner trust you, and are you willing to trust your partner? So frequently when people are talking about their ex, there's always something that ties into dating jealousy. Informing them that you've got options, you're flirting on social media, is definitely a no-no. Like, in the last few months, I talked with friends and some family about how they feel about when their significant other flatters different people on social media, like pictures that are kind of like promiscuous of somebody they say is a friend. And usually that person's not a friend. They probably maybe a ex-interest, somebody they previously had sex with, or anything else. And all those flirting and saying blatantly you have options are totally unacceptable shenanigans, and they should be reserved for people who are immature daters who like to torture each other. They should just enjoy dating each other and doing that whole dating jealousy, because the real relationship cannot be built on a foundation of jealousy. So until people learn that lesson, they'll never move on to a mature relationship, and that's what you want to get to at a certain point. Another thing that I think people should definitely let go of bad dating habits for 2017 is starting to withhold something from a partner to get your way. This withhold could be something like a conversation that needs to happen in order to overcome a challenge in the relationship. It could be withholding sex to get something in return, which is horrible. I hate when people do that. And it could be other things like financially. A lot of people, they use financial withholding to get their partners to do what they want to do when they want to do it. So all these are bad, unhealthy situations that people get into in their immature dating habits. So just try to avoid that altogether. And another really horrible immature dating habit is starting to end the relationship routinely. Some people, because they don't have the capacity to overcome different obstacles in a relationship, they will make ultimatums like, do this thing or I'm done, which that is abusive relationship. Anybody who says they're done before you even have the opportunity to resolve an issue is a abusive partner, and you should immediately get out of that situation, because petty arguments that people turn into, I'm mad about this trivial thing, so maybe we should break up, is just a terrible dating habit. And not only do people generally dislike being threatened, but no grown, mature adult is going to put up with the stressful, constant vulnerability of their entire relationship being on doing something and hearing a threat that is going to end because you haven't done something fast enough, quick enough, or resolved it for your partner. And that's just a very major emotional baggage. And it should definitely be a dating habit that you throw out. And if you feel like you do that often in relationships, there are therapists, psychologists that can help you overcome those emotional abusive behaviors that you may have learned over time, maybe even going as far back as childhood. So just think about that in 2017, how you can help yourself and your partner not be in a abusive relationship, routinely threatening each other that you'll leave when things get a little rough. And just to be clear, every relationship has obstacles, so don't make things harder than they have to be. Another thing that is a bad dating habit, and it should be thrown away before 2017, or you better work on it, is having a friend to talk to the person you're interested in for you. Like, basically, that's borderline cowardly move that you learn in, like, middle school, and it shouldn't be a habit that survives in your 20s or beyond. And it's especially, like, something that's bad, especially if you both have a mutual friend and you tell every little argument or every text message or every phone call about what's going on in your relationship. It's just a horrible idea. So before you reach out to someone else, reach out to the partner that you're having that issue with and find a point where you both can just enjoy and appreciate what you have and go from there, because it does get tough, but there are opportunities to fix whatever is a problem, because if there's love present, there's always ways to resolve issues if that matters to you. Another big thing is openly sharing or even hinting at any petty arguments and personal business publicly, which is something that happens when you're a teen and early 20s, and it can be easily done, especially if you feel unappreciated by your partner, or you feel like your partner is taking advantage of you in different ways or not respecting you at all. So no good has ever come of someone putting their significant other on blast for an argument or a mistake ever, even if it's subliminal shot firing and all that type of stuff. There's no place in even remotely mature relationships to do that. And usually when people do that, it's like a last resort, because they feel like their relationship is not something that they are willing to save or can save at that point. So it's kind of like a cry for help. And when a partner doesn't react or even pushes it further, usually the relationship is doomed. And another big thing is consequently creating the illusion that you don't care. The worst thing that you can do during a big argument or just a little bump in the road in your relationship is to pretend to your partner you don't care at all about how they feel, about the health of your relationship or anything. People who try to play it cool, but this is like referring to the next level of flat out pretending not to care at all. That includes ignoring your partner, using other potential love interests as leverage to make your partner jealous. When it starts to feel like an immature game of limbo where both partners are trying to display how little interest or few feelings you have, there's no point in saving the relationship because it becomes a tit for tat and just an unhealthy, sad, stressful cycle of desperation to make something that's gone wrong to make it a better atmosphere environment. It just doesn't work. And another thing that it needs to go out the door in 2017 is being involved in unofficial status, knowing as talking for extended period of time, but there's no thing that really says you're fully committed. I think in today's modern dating world, it's difficult because it leaves a door open for one person to feel fully committed to a relationship and another to be just completely crushed when they find out that their partner is less devoted or as a co-talker or sleeping with other people or everything when you're thinking of the whole time that you're in an exclusive relationship, because sometimes, in fact, the person that's a player in the relationship is telling that person that they're exclusive, but they're not acting as somebody who's in an exclusive relationship. So you got to be careful who you put your trust in. You got to be careful who you invest your time and efforts in. And this is usually something that happens at a high school concept, but more and more millennials in their 20s, early 30s are participating in these, are we together, are we not, but they're doing things that people do in exclusive relationships like unsafe sex and a lot of other things. And more importantly, acting in unofficial status is pretty much a manipulated dating tactic, and it causes more destruction than anything else. So if you're not fully committed to somebody, just make it clear and move on away from that person so they have an opportunity to find real love, real care, real appreciation and respect. It's something that everybody deserves or should in time have that opportunity in life, and some people don't because people waste years and years of their life hurting those people who would otherwise commit fully to them. Another bad, immature dating habit that is frequent among millennials is flaking. Flaking is especially horrible when it's last minute dates, last minute concrete plans, better invitations may arrive and you're just like, oh, lie to your partner and say that you're going to be staying in for the night, and then they see photos of you on social media having fun, drinking beers with your friends, or even with other people of the opposite sex, the same sex, dating them. It's just a way to say that you're very disrespectful and immature and haven't grown from that casual treatment about treating others. It really comes down to showing how valueless and insignificant you believe other people are in your life. And it's kind of like a self-absorbed mindset to have when you flick out on people because you can't commit to things, can't commit to yourself as well. So anybody who is feeling that they have those habits, they should look more into themselves and see how they can become more mature so in order to not flick out as much and really value the time and effort people put into dating them and appreciating them as a whole. And then another horrible habit, a lot that happens more frequently than not is putting admirers who aren't interested in you on blast. This is partly why the courting process has become so disastrous for millennials. You want to be vulnerable and show feelings while courting someone, and that's great, sure, but they might tell all their friends or take a screenshot of your private interactions and share it with the world, which is like something that brutally can happen in a time where technology is and communication is instant and it's not cool. It really makes people feel devalued and unappreciated. So just think before you act. Think on that golden rule of treating others the way you want to be treated. And another bad habit that used to go in 2017 is letting friends have too much say in who you date. Usually this happens when you're like in grade school through high school, where you really think it matters who you date, and your friends should like everything about the person you date, and that's not necessarily true or has to be true. Really, in the long run, you have to deal with that person's emotions and deal with them. Long term, if you want to go into a fully committed relationship or even marriage, you're going to have to deal with that person every day. Your friends are not. And it seems more frequently than not that men put a lot of emphasis on how their friends feel about someone they're dating, because I guess they're more in a clan life. But as women mature, they care less about what their friends think about it. I mean, of course, they want their man to be that top guy in the group of women who have significant others. They want him to be respectful and admired by their friends slightly, but enough backspace to have that where their friends don't have a full say in who they're dating. Which there's a fine line between friends looking out for you when you're in an unhealthy relationship, which is great that you have people around you that care, and then there's friends trying to handpick a person that they like for you. It's two different things. And a lot of people, they end up going into marriages because their friends like someone, and then they realize they're incompatible with that person and value opinions, but it's good to value opinions, but also be mature enough to make final decisions for yourself rather than your friends destroying your relationship for you or helping you destroy your relationship simply because they don't like who you're dating. Another big thing that should go in 2017 is making the person you're dating a speculate. And guess why you're mad instead of using words like adults? Like, that's a big issue with millennials. They don't like to use words. They like to use silent treatment, get mad, and make a big scene out of arguments, when really face-to-face interactions as adults really help overcome obstacles and really show the level of maturity. So don't see the whole I'm mad at you, silent treatment, treat everybody better than my partner. It doesn't go anywhere. And it's considered passive-aggressive by nature when you do those things. And it's important to make a conscious effort to speak on how you feel. Really, it is important that your partner knows how you feel instead of dropping hints or giving the silent treatment. Like, nobody can understand all that stuff. Maybe your mom, maybe somebody who's known you your whole life, but your partner shouldn't have to be in that position where they have to figure out every little thing while you're mad and while you're upset because you don't have the maturity to speak for yourself or own up to whatever obstacles you're keeping between your relationship to make it healthy and a happy relationship. Bringing up the person you're dating past mistakes is like the worst thing you can do, especially if you do it on every disagreement. Like, if they piss you off and then you decide to bring up a past that they want to forget, and even especially if they have said their apologies, like, just let it go. It's so easy to do this because often we forgive without forgetting, which is a problem because you have, especially if it hurt you initially, there's a way where you just keep on remembering little details about the mistake. But we've all had plenty of screw-ups in relationships, and none of us want to be reminded of them regularly. And moreover, none of us are perfect. So if you can keep away from bringing up the past, stay on that track and just work through it together. Because really, you can't change the past, but you can definitely mold the future. Another thing that is a no-no is comparing your relationships to others. Like, if you're looking through Facebook and like, wow, they seem like such a happy couple, or wow, they have this and that, they have that great place together, they have these great jobs. You really have to stop doing the comparison thing, because a lot of what you think you know about everybody's relationship is like half or less than half of what you really is going on. Because the people that look the happiest are not the happiest people, and that's evident on social media as well as face-to-face interactions. We all want to look like a certain presentation on social media and in our lives that we have it all together, but most of the time, most of us do not have it all together, and we're just doing the best we can to keep it together. So don't compare yourself to what such and such has or who they date. Just try to make the best of your situation and work through whatever you have to work through. And that's really something that will keep you going for years in dating and as well as long term. Another big thing that harms relationships is massive lies, but also the constant, tiny, unnecessary ones are like the worst things because they build up. Lying about cheating or something extreme is obviously terrible, but pointless, uncalled for lies are pretty concerning as well. Especially when your partner knows that you're telling a white lie because they don't think the truth is they feel like you don't think the truth is worth them knowing. It can lead to unnecessary concern or conversations that are very unhealthy for your relationship. And that's not for you to decide when involved in a serious or wrong relationship when you should tell a lie or not. It's really about trust and just trying to show your partner that you trust them enough to tell the truth. And sometimes the truth is really what sets you free and keeps the relationship going. So instead of making that massive lie that you have to constantly cover up with a tiny lie, just go with the truth the first time and see what happens. Another big thing that should be out the door in 2017 is pretending to be a type of person with a particular interest to make someone like you more. And that might be something as big as religion, or saying you have a hobby that you really hate, like watercolor painting. If that person likes watercolor painting, that's them. But you shouldn't pretend that you just love touching a paintbrush and painting if you really don't like that. In fact, more couples appreciate when their partner or significant other has a hobby that they do not like, but they can still appreciate or admire that person has invested their time in keeping up with that hobby. So you don't have to have the same hobbies or have a whole bunch of things in common to have a compatible relationship or a relationship that makes you happy. So just think on that when you think that you need to build up this big profile that of every hobby that your partner has in order to be someone that's of interest. It's not that serious or big of a deal. Another thing that you should definitely avoid, and I encourage particularly women, is lowering your expectations to avoid being alone. Like, that's the worst thing you can do. Like saying that you should settle for this person that disrespects you, treats you like you're below them or anything like that. It's really not worth it, because sometimes being alone versus being in a relationship is sometimes better for you, especially if you're not in a relationship that really speaks to your spirit or brings in positivity. Sometimes going solo is better and it's more comfortable than settling for whoever simply puts attention on you for however momentarily that may be. Because of course, all of us don't want to feel lonely, but it might be best to work on yourself before seeking someone to date. And I think that's very welcoming when you can explore yourself and find what you really like about yourself and your values could really help you find that perfect match, or that match that's very or highly compatible with you. And another thing that may be a good idea to avoid in the new year is strictly being sarcastic all the time. Like, some people, it's okay to be playful, especially when you're in crush mode, but as you mature your relationship, there should be a way of expressing yourself that's entirely that's not entirely cynical. Like some people aren't good at picking up that stuff, and oftentimes it could lead to arguments that are unnecessary if you're always not going about things that matter to your partner in a cynical way. So just think on that. Another big thing is realizing you're not interested in someone and choosing to suddenly start ignoring them instead of just saying, being honest and telling them how you feel. Really puts like it's just a dumb, but millenniums they like to ghost people when they feel like they can't get their point across. When really it's best for both parties to just get the point across so they can have closure. Because a lot of that stuff can impact how people go about the next relationship they are in. So you might want to not want to be mean for declining someone's interest, but what works for them is speculating what to make of your complete silence or respectfully finding out there's no romantic potential. Like, especially if you've been intimate with them, it's a good idea to just get that full closure instead of being immature and just ghosting them. It's like disrespectful, and it shows kind of like how you lack maturity and respect for yourself. So just keep that in mind the next time you feel like you just want to ghost someone. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is how do you know if someone wants to date you or just wants to hook up once you handle or address your habits of immature dating habits. Like all the flirting is starting to pay off and you're having a great conversation and you want to decide if you're going to date or just hook up with somebody. It's something that happens, especially around the holiday season when everybody wants to get booed up. Sometimes it's hard to see the signs if somebody really wants to make things a bit more serious or take your relationship to the next level or just want to simply hook up until spring comes back and they have more options. It's something you really got to think about and give it a little time, and it's not really that hard to give it a little time so that you make the right decisions. Usually women are very confused when guys do this, but guys tend to make their attention fairly obvious with their actions versus words. So you got to pay attention to what he's really doing versus what he's saying. And you shouldn't don't expect him to just flat out say he wants you because most guys are not going to do that unless they're very confident in themselves and have hit a maturity level that allows them that that privilege to tell you straight up. In that area, guys are just confusing as women. And if you really want to know how you can tell if you're being upgraded, here's some tips. For one, he calls or texts you more often. So as long as those calls and texts are on like late night booty calls, it's a good sign that he can't seem to get enough of you. And this means he really wants to get to know you, and not just your body, which is a great thing when you're trying to get to a fully committed relationship. He may not call you every day, and that's okay, but he will still put in that effort to contact you at least several times during the week. Or after all, he wants to date you, so he'll make his attention on you enough so that he won't drive you away. And when you start talking every day, you can definitely get a feel of the potential relationship, how much he respects you, and how much effort he's going to put in. Second thing you want to notice is he wants to know more about you. And I'm not just saying like little here and there things that anybody can know or pick up. He isn't going to waste his time learning what your interests are if he thinks of you as a occasional hookup. If he's interested in dating you, he's going to ask you questions, details about your life, as what you love to do in your spare time, so that he knows how to find dates for you, enjoy with you, things you dislike, things that you want, like favorite music. He wants to kind of get to know you in those familiar ways and make you happy. So he's going to put in that effort to find answers to those questions. And the questions help him learn more about you. So don't be too shy about when he's trying to give you clues on how to plan a better date when he's asking you those questions. So give him a chance to get to know you without being too guarded about it. Another thing that is a good hint that he wants to date you more than just simply hooking up with you is that he makes it clear that you're the girl he's interested in, and not that there's multiple girls he's interested in. Guys tend to be more single-minded when it comes to dating. They put all their effort into getting to know you and making sure you only notice them if they're interested in you being the only girl. So if he's constantly checking out other women or he's talking about his other hookups, he's not ready to date you, and you should not give him the privilege to date you. If you're the only girl he's really paying attention to, that's a pretty good sign that he is dating material and not just like a hookup booty call material. And if he's waiting to make a move, again, that goes back to the survey, but sometimes you get that immediate physical connection, but a guy who really wants to date you will wait before he makes any serious moves. So guys wanting to hook up try to make a move as quickly as possible. So pay attention to how quick he's trying to buy what you get to know you. Waiting lets you know he respects you as a potential girlfriend or even somebody he can see himself spending his life with. So be patient is key to getting to know you and waiting for him to make that move. So he should have the guts and balls to make that move and make sure that you know that he wants to claim you. Another sign that a man is interested in dating you, he starts to show signs of getting tired of casual dating. This is one of the more obvious signs he wants to date you. Who values herself, respects herself. Another thing is that he wants you to meet his friends. Guys, positively about you. If he's putting you down, you don't want to be with a man that doesn't value you, and pay attention to those signals and red flags when you can. Another thing that shows that he is ready to date you is him seeming he seems so confident, which is shocking. But this might seem like a great sign, but it actually is a little bit of shyness that shows he cares about you, what you think. So he might be a little more, not on his feet about things, and he'll try to impress you. And sometimes he might look a little foolish when he wants to come off more confident. When a guy's like in a hookup mood, he tends to be more confident, kind of cocky, and that kind of throws off one because they take that as being confident in where he wants to go, but that usually isn't the case. Like if a man really cares about what you think, as long as he wants you in your life, he'll make it a fact that it really evaluates himself when he's taking actions and words. So it's really cute when he's not quite as sure of himself, but still puts himself out there on the off chance that you might agree to a date. So just give him a break if you see him being less confident than you normally see him with people, because that's a good chance that he has a real interest in you. And another important thing is to go on real dates. Don't let it slide when he's saying, "Oh, Netflix and chill." He should take you out in public and spend time talking to you. Guys aren't going to go overboard when it comes to hookup. They're going to just take the easy way out. So you want a man that takes that little extra step. And expect he'll call you to come over. Don't refuse that if it's in the early stages of dating. When he wants to date you, he's eager to impress you, so he'll take you out. And this means going up to a restaurant, obvious effort to relate and not something that he just pulled together. Another key thing that shows that he loves the attention that you put on him. He likes to be appreciated, and like some people, they think a guy that wants to hook up will be all over them in public. The problem is he doesn't want other women thinking the two of you are an item, so he's probably not going to do that in public. A guy that wants to date you, he doesn't mind holding your hand, kissing you, hugging you, and making it very obvious that he only has eyes for you, and that's the kind of man you want to invest your time and effort in. Think about the cutesy couples that first start dating that can't keep their hands off each other. That's what you want, because that's blatant signs of dating, and he's not trying to hide you away or anything. You don't deserve that. You deserve utmost respect and appreciation when a man approaches you and is willing to date. Another important thing is that he shares something personal with you. One of the ways a guy puts himself out there is by sharing something personal. It could be his biggest fear, embarrassing thing that's happening in his childhood, but he's going to put his let his guard down and show that he wants you to get to know him better. God is to give you a look inside his life, so you'll do the same for him. So he see that you're less guarded and you bring him into your world, and you really value that trust and appreciation for each other. That's like love. The more you know about him, the more likely he is dating you, and really will respect you and trust you with his emotions and his feelings, and that's where you want to get when dating a good man. A person that's not a good man will not take those steps for you, so just pay attention to that. More importantly, he's not going to ignore you. Nothing is more annoying than assuming you're dating a guy and only to him he's ignoring you and showing you that he doesn't care about what you think or what he's doing. If you have to wait hours or even days before you call you like that, it's an immature man and you don't deserve to date an immature man. His own texts are quick and meaningless as the titles up. That's a bad sign too. You try to bring up going out to the next week, makes every excuse that something that's not the more interested a guy is, the more likely he is to date you. So pay attention to when he ignores you and doesn't, and sometimes it's time to move on and find somebody who is worth so I'm encouraging you to just jot these notes down and pay attention to who you invest your time and effort in, and hopefully that will help you have better relationships, healthy relationships in the new year. So most importantly, trust your instincts, and if it doesn't feel right, ask so that's all I have for tonight. I will chat with you